Welcome to the podcast, everyone. Kelly and I are joining you today, coming to you today from Vintage Grace Boutique in Washington, which is a really, really cool spot. It's off Wildflower Road Circle, I guess. And so if you're ever out in this area off Route 19, stop by and take a look because it's just a phenomenal place. And our guest this morning is a good friend of ours, and I've known her for a good while, Jen Hisdorf. Jen, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. We've been talking about doing this for a while. I'm really glad we got a chance to sit down and really get into what you've been doing.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Excellent.
We're glad you're here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think I hang out with Jen probably more than you do.
I think now you do, but I've known her longer.
It's been a while. Many years.
Yeah.
Okay,
see?
you got me there. You got me
Yeah.
there.
I knew her before she was a mom, before she was a wife, all those things.
Yeah.
All these titles that she has now.
Yeah, and all the cool stuff.
So what title do you actually have at work? What would you say your title is there? Because you just got promoted, right?
I did. Yes. So I am a vice president of the Treasury Management Department at Brentwood Bank.
Nice.
That's a big one.
Nice. It is. That's very cool. And it's Brentwood is a really interesting bank. It's a community bank, small community bank, which I absolutely love. So, but do you guys feel in any way inferior or competitive with, you got the PNCs and all these different things? Being a community bank is a different mindset in how you approach your business.
It is. So last year we celebrated our 100th anniversary.
Wow.
So as a community bank, that's a really just big accomplishment.
All is Brentwood Bank?
All is Brentwood Bank,
You
yes.
look really good for 100.
That's
Yeah,
impressive. That is impressive.
So we are excited to open our 6th branch here in the fall. It will be in the North Hills in the Wexford area.
Okay.
So we continue to grow and just continue to add products that our clients will need.
That's awesome.
I feel like you guys are everywhere. You only have 5 branches, really?
5 branches right now, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's the commitment to community that we have, though.
Mhm.
Everybody that works for us is dedicated to the community where they live, where they work. They get involved. You will see us out at events. You will see us, sponsoring softball teams and things like
Yeah.
that because we care that much about the community.
Yeah. I think that's why we feel like you're everywhere. There's so many branches
Right.
because you are. You guys are everywhere.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
And that's a great touch that you can't get, not comparing banks, but when you look at the larger institutions, and we'll use PNC Bank because they're obvious, but you don't see them as much at ground level, at street level, at community events, sponsoring little league teams and doing things like that. Networking at a professional level, that's one thing, but really digging and drilling down into the community and being involved. It's a live, work, and play thing, right?
It is, yeah.
That's awesome.
And then that's not the only thing that you're in charge of. We were just talking about POSH a little bit.
Yes.
So tell us about POSH.
Yeah, so I'm one of the co-founders of POSH Women. It stands for Power of South Hills Women. We are in our 7th year, so we've been around for quite a few years now. And our mission is to inspire and educate women. So bringing them together once a month, no membership dues or anything that's charged to the participants, but bringing them into a space where they can meet other women, connect, learn from great speakers. We've had Kelly as our speaker just recently, actually. But bringing that space where women can just come and learn and just meet other people that are like-minded. Mm-hmm. So we do meet once a month. And all of our information is always on our Facebook page at POSH Women Pittsburgh.
So what makes POSH different from other groups?
I think for us, our goal really was to have something that wasn't membership based, and those are great. We're all members of many other things as well, but just to have a space that allowed women to come on their own terms whenever they can make it, not have a huge dues commitment, because sometimes small businesses just can't afford to pay large amounts for things. And when we first started, Jackie Von Toon's my partner in that organization, we sat down and thought, what do we want this to look like? And we put a post on Facebook, and 30-some people showed up at our first informational meeting. Wow. So that was back in 2016. And we outgrew the space. We were actually asked to not come back to where we were because they couldn't accommodate that large of a party. But we've moved around to a few different spaces over the years, just different areas. But that's been our goal the whole time. Mm-hmm. And we've shifted our focus a little bit this year to be more of an educational discussion. Like when Kelly spoke a few months ago, she was talking about branding and just giving everyone really great ideas. It was very interactive. People had a lot of questions and just, getting that
Sure.
expert that they can have in front of them for an hour to talk about things, it makes such a difference to small businesses. So that's been our goal, just to be a resource and just give access to the connections and the professionals that they might not know otherwise.
That's great. One of the things I like about POSH is that I feel that it's almost just simplistic. It is what it is. There's not a lot of extra frills that are around it.
Definitely.
And it's just, South Hills. You guys aren't trying to expand everywhere and push things out. And it is what it is. You know what you're going to get when you come to a POSH lunch. And I really like that about that.
Thank you. Glad to hear that. Yeah,
That's
that's our
awesome
goal.
too. I mean,
Mhm.
women get it. You guys get how to network, how to support each other, how to, just exchange information and knowledge transfer, right? Guys, we stink at this. We just don't do it well. And Peel's a perfect example. I go to all the Peel's ladies luncheons. And a
Yeah.
lot of times I'm the only guy there, but I go because I'm just so impressed with the room when I go. The men's luncheons, there's some impressive people there. There's some powerful dudes, right? But that, we go and do our thing, we listen to whoever's speaking and we go. You guys get it.
Mhm.
You get that. There's follow-up, there's support, there's all of those things. I'm impressed. I
It's
really
such a
am.
relationship building. I mean, you
Yeah.
see it, even if you only see someone like once a month at a Peel lunch or whatever, every time you see them again, they
Mhm.
ask, hey, how did that go? How did that project
Yeah.
go? What you talked about that last
Right.
month. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's really focusing on those true relationships.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Peel and POSH have a lot of overlap as far as the ladies that attend those luncheons.
Yes.
So it's nice to see them almost more than once a month.
Yes. Very
Yeah.
true.
That's good stuff.
There are so many really strong, powerful women in southwestern Pennsylvania, and you guys have opened my eyes to that in a lot of ways. I mean, I've always sought out strong women because I was raised by strong women, right? I'm married to one, so I get that. But there are so many impressive ladies doing things at a small scale, right? Becca is one here with this boutique. You doing what you're doing, at your age, you're still a young woman, a young mom and wife, but you're a VP in a Treasury department of a 100-year-old bank. That is impressive, right? But that's not something you wear on your sleeve. You don't walk around saying I'm a VP, and that's where the power comes from, right? You don't have to say that, but putting the spotlight on that you both do in both of your organizations on those strong, independent women that are succeeding and maybe a little bit under the radar, and they deserve a lot more recognition than what they're getting. I just think that's it's amazing. I tip my hat to you. I think it's wonderful.
Thank you. And that's really been our goal for speakers too. We look
Mhm.
for great professional resources that we can provide, but we also open our forums sometimes for women who maybe need to boost their confidence a little bit and they don't like the public speaking. So we kind of drag them along and give them a chance to practice in a safe space, a smaller forum, and then you see them go off and do bigger things. So it's really exciting to watch their career path after that too.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I completely agree with that too. So we just had our business event, a couple weeks ago, and I had you as a speaker, tit for tat, and you did a great job. But my question to you is that so many women are afraid of finances, and their husbands or boyfriends or whomever's in their life that are male are always taking care of everything. And I've said over and over again, a man is not a plan.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say to women that let a guy take care of everything, that maybe they shouldn't be doing that? So how do you get through to women about finances?
And that's so common that you will have, in many cases, it is the man. And there are so many families that one person knows where the documents are, one person handles the finances. And even if that's one person writing the checks, doing the bill pay, that's okay. But you need to know what is going on. You need to know what's normal for your account, just even from looking at a fraud perspective. If you
Mhm.
think, oh, that other person did this transaction, I'm not paying attention to it, who knows what could have actually happened with your account. So just having just even if it's a basic knowledge, but asking the questions, because there's no question that your banker or your lender or whoever you're talking to has not heard. we want you to ask. There's nothing that we can't answer for you or
Sure.
can't find out for you. I love it when someone comes in with a list of questions, because I know that means they're committed to finding out what they need for their business, for their own finances, and just not being afraid. Because if you're working with the right banker, it's a natural fit, and you get to know, they know a lot about you, you know a lot about them. So just making sure that you have that personal connection and the relationship with that banker is really important.
Excellent.
Now, we've had a lot of people that talk to us about finances, our members and things. Is there too small of an amount that someone coming to you? Because I've heard people that are embarrassed to talk about their finances, or they say, well, I don't need a banker. I don't make enough to have a banker. I mean, I think finances are a very personal thing. And if someone's embarrassed to talk about it, they won't. And then they go down a path that they probably shouldn't be going down. How should they come to you? If someone walked into your bank, what should they say to you, or how do they get to you?
So ideally, for me, I try to meet people, we talked about all the networking and things like that, just so that they get to know me as a person first. Because I think when that happens, they're more comfortable asking those questions.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're just going to walk into, a bank branch or try to find someone, I would sit down and think about what is really important to you, when you're looking for a banking relationship or you're looking for someone to work with. Decide what your business needs, decide what you need. Because I think in the back of our minds, we kind of know it. Just not be afraid to come out and ask those questions, because, thinking back to PPP loans, now that's 3 years ago. The people that got their money first, in those first waves of funding that went really fast,
Mm-hmm.
had a banker that was fighting for them.
Right.
And if you didn't know someone to call,
Yes.
you might not have gotten the money.
Mm-hmm.
It may have been a second round that came much later. So I think that right there kind of shows how important it is to have that personal connection for someone that's going to go to bat for you.
If you were, I'm gonna put you on the spot just a little bit. Nothing bad.
Oh, boy.
But I did no. So I'm thinking about, because I have my number 2 granddaughter just graduated from high school. Okay, she's going off to college and all those things. So she's had a bank account. She's always worked from the time she was 15 years old. She's had a bank account, but she did everything with a debit card. So she has her graduation party, gets all of the money, and comes and asks me how to deposit it. She had no idea, simply because she had always deposited at the ATM,
Mm-hmm.
because she was paid with cash, things like that. So I guarantee you she would never be able to write a check, okay, because everything was all ATMs. So if you had a chance to go into, say, middle school, okay, and talk to those youngsters, 13, 14 years old, what would you say? What would your message be?
There's so many things there too, so just thinking about, like you said, middle school. So many programs start in high school when you're graduating in a week. Let's talk about this for 5 minutes before you do.
Right.
And it does need to start a lot younger, just thinking about the money management, especially now with apps and, just different resources that are out there.
Right.
Young people, and I say young people because it goes beyond the high school and the college kids even, they don't know how to write a check.
Yeah.
Do we write a lot of checks now? Not really.
Not really.
But there are certain things that, I think finally for me, I was able to stop writing a check for my, I think it was like a sewage bill or whatever. They finally switched to online, which was great. I'm a banker. I don't like to write checks, but, there's going to be something out there that you have to pay by check, right?
Right.
So just thinking about teaching young people how to make a budget, even if it's as simple like you cut grass and you got $10. Let's talk about, I remember my dad having that conversation with my sister and I when we were young. This is what you save. This is what you do, even if it was small amounts of money. And that was at a very young age. And I think it's something that is definitely missing. So, as a community bank, we do try to go in and participate with schools or organizations like Junior Achievement, things like that, to go into the school and have conversations with young people to just try to give them that education of understanding their finances, because a lot of those things are generational. If the parents don't pay attention to things, sometimes the kids are going to follow in the same. Like I just mentioned my dad, I kind of do things the way he did. And, that seems to happen. So we try to break some of the cycles sometimes to give people the, tools and resources that they need.
Yeah, see, I'm the flip side, and I'm almost embarrassed to say it, of what you said about, women who have the guys do everything. I could even tell you what my paycheck is. I don't even know how much money I make. Terry does everything. And if she was ever in the hospital, God forbid, or something happened, I'm helpless. I'm totally helpless. And to your point, it happens both ways. It's not just, the guys. And it's largely not because I can't do it, because I really don't want to do it. And I get lazy because she's doing it. So, okay, as long as it's over there and she's doing it, I don't have to worry about it. But we actually had what happened. I was traveling. I was at a conference, staying at the Hershey Lodge, right? I was at a conference. I go downstairs to get a cup of coffee, and my car's declined. I said, and that's not possible. So I go on the banking app, and my account was 0.00. It was zeroed out, right? So even though I'm an idiot, I'm smart enough to know something isn't right there, right? Because it didn't overdraw. It stopped right at zero. And so long story short, I stopped at a gas station, okay, to get gas, went in and swiped one of those old-fashioned things, and somebody there at the bank took a Visa gift card and did that with my numbers and went around, and the bank actually tracked every transaction as it went down, boom, 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 and stopped at zero. Yeah. So it was, but naturally it was my fault. I wasn't, but I wasn't paying attention. But that's another story again. But so you can't be too careful with things like that, because I really had no idea, and I was kind of stuck. I'm traveling. So those
So
are.
we need to talk separately about like enabling like your text alerts and all that. So we'll catch up on that stuff.
Well, this was a while ago. It's been, in my defense, it's been several years ago. I do get all those alerts now.
But
Back then I
fraud is
didn't.
At an all-time high. Like, you mentioned the conference that you just hosted. Businesses especially, they have 48 hours. So if a transaction happened right now, the clock starts right now.
Mhm.
Consumers have 60 days. So there's a little bit longer of a window for your personal account. But for a business, they're busy. They're running the day-to-day. So having the protections in place is so important.
And small
And
businesses
that's-
are very vulnerable.
Exactly. There's so many things. I mean, there's so many transactions that happen, and there's just, errors and employee mistakes and things like that. They happen. But having the conversations to make sure that those fraud protection pieces are in place prior is so important.
Now, see, I'm the same way as his household. My husband, forget about it. He has the app, and I'll say, hey, we'll check the app. Well, I don't know what my password is anymore, or my username, and I can't find it. Can't you just look? And he calls me Eagle Eye, because every morning, I brush my teeth, I check my bank account, because I want to make sure.
Music to the banker's ears.
But I want to make sure that nothing is wrong, everything's good. And every once in a while, I'll text him and go, hey, what is this charge on here? And he'll say, this is what it is, because it doesn't line up with what our normal day-to-day stuff is.
Yeah.
And he'll say, oh my God, Eagle Eye, like, why? But I want to
Yes.
make sure all the charges are legit and everything is running smoothly. And it's so funny because one of our friends' mother is in her 70s. Someone called her a few weeks ago. She fell for it. She gave them all the numbers. And he was ridiculing her, saying, I can't believe she fell for that. Now, fast forward a week later, someone called him from PNC, and he starts giving them all the information. And I hear him doing it from the other side of the house. And I come flying, and I go, who are you talking to? He said, PNC. They said that something was hacked. I go, PNC is
Jake
not
from
going to
PNC.
call you. And I said, hang up the phone. And I said, you're just making fun of so-and-so. You're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And I said, call PNC. So he called him, and they said, no, sir, we have not just called you.
Yeah,
We had to freeze everything. But
Yeah.
they're very convincing now.
they are. And they get people to give them over the phone your social security number and your banking access online. And we have all of that. The bank will never call you for that. We have everything we need. The account would not have been open.
That's almost exactly what I said to him. I said, were you giving them your social security number? He was like, no.
And even like the social engineering, like the text, like, hey, your password was compromised. Click this.
Mm-hmm.
People click those so fast. You're
Right.
out. You're busy. And it happens. And even the social engineering techniques, thinking about the Facebook questions. What year did you graduate from high school? What was your first car that you missed so bad? And when you see those, it's like, and people go into great detail. It was a red this. It's like, so that's all of your colors and all the stuff. Like, they're going to
Everything.
get all of that from one question.
I lived on
Yeah.
Elm Leaf. My dog
Yeah.
is Fluffy.
Yeah. What would
right.
your dog's name be if it was, I see
Yeah.
those and I see people answering them. And I'm like, you know better. Like, do I tell you to not do this?
Yeah, it's that's amazing. That is totally amazing. Let's talk a little bit about you're involved. You've been involved. This is where we first met in Chambers of Commerce. I'm a big supporter. I'm a huge fan. So we were involved in a small chamber, and you're still now with South Hills Chamber, which is probably around close in size. Those chambers are all pretty close in size. So, what benefit do you, as Jen, but also as a VP at Brentwood Bank, what benefit do you get out of chamber membership?
I think for me personally, it's just meeting the business owners that are out there. I mean, hearing their stories and coming into their establishment, seeing how they started, why they got started, just hearing their stories. That's probably my favorite part of my job. But it's also kind of cool to know people that do a little bit of everything, right? So something needs fixed at home, like, hey, I got someone,
I know a guy.
Yeah, exactly. So it's nice to have those connections within the community too, to just really help other people grow their business.
Very cool. And you've held board positions, and it's one thing that I found about because I was on the board for a long time. I was in executive committee, and then I allowed myself to be tricked into being president for a term, which
He's such a joiner.
well, yeah. So but it was difficult. I found the difficulty to be providing the services that everyone needed. Right, because everybody's different. I've been a member of chambers forever. I'm in the engineering business. You're not going to get an engineering project at a Chamber of Commerce luncheon. Although I just got this morning an opportunity for an engineering that came out of Peel, of all places. Right, so you never know what's out there. Right, but providing services, and this applies to Peel as well. Providing services in any organization that is networking based and business based to really get to everybody's need is pretty much next to impossible.
It is. And I think that's where a lot of organizations have, in the past few years, have done a really good job of doing a mix of events. Like just for Peel, for example, business education, and then there's social, and there's something for everybody. So I think when the focus is there, that there's something that's going to appeal to any kind of business, what their availability is, then they'll get put in front of the right crowd that they're looking to meet. Because some people only want to network, some people only want social, and like all of it's great. So we need all of it to, kind of round out the organizations.
And then you have those businesses they're very busy, and for a lot of reasons, they never show up at any events, don't do anything, and they complain that they got no benefit from it. It's like you pretty much they sprinkle some pixie dust and wonderful things will happen.
Yeah, they came to a meeting, they get in business. What happened?
You get out
just like
what you
anything
put
else.
in.
You get out what you put in. So if you invest, if you go and you show up, good things will happen.
That's for sure.
There's strength in numbers.
Yes.
And like you can never have too many connections in my mind.
Very true.
All right, so you have all these hats that you wear. You have kids too, right?
I have one. He's 3 years old.
Okay.
Yes.
And you have a husband.
I have a husband, yes.
So recreation, what do you do?
So right now we're starting to enter that T-ball and fun phase of activities. So we do that once a week. We go to the little gym, another nice local business, music classes, all kind of fun stuff that my son loves to do. So 3 years old is such a fun age.
It's amazing.
So if there's events that I'm not at night, that's always why, because we have something going on. But he loves to be outdoors like I do. So we spend a lot of time just even simple things like picnics and going to the park and things like that.
Somebody said to me once that 3-year-olds know things. 3-year-olds know the meaning of life. If you listen to them, they know things. Do you get that? Do you pick that up?
Oh, yes. Yes.
I have a 3-year-old granddaughter, and it's amazing how perceptive that they are. They get it. And I'm sure we all did up to a certain point, and then adults take that away from us, and if we're lucky, we find it again later.
Yeah.
But that interaction, I've learned that no matter what's going on in your life, no matter how sad or depressed or stressed you may be, spend an hour with a 3-year-old, and it's over. It goes away.
Yeah. That's a conversation my husband and I have all the time. Like, he just finds joy no matter what he's doing.
Exactly.
Like, the simplest things, he's just so happy. And you walk in the door and he's like, Mommy, and he comes running over. Like, it's just
like he hasn't seen you in a year.
I'm still amazed by the energy that little ones have. I mean,
Yes.
I don't know where it comes from.
Yes.
It's insane.
Yeah.
I mean,
It doesn't stop.
my kids are older now. They're 18 and 22. And I swear, I look back, my daughter just asked me, so she's going to be a senior, and she said, hey, can you send me some of my baby pictures? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I started looking through all the albums, and I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I forgot about all these little things that she used to do, and
Yeah.
it goes by so fast. And you'll hear that so often, and so did I. But it does. It goes by so fast. And I said, I wish I would have taken more video, because their voices at that age are just almost angelic, and they change so fast.
Yes.
So
that
take
is
video,
something.
take
Yes,
video.
yeah,
So one day when you have
definitely.
all these videos, you're going to say, oh, Kelly was right. I am so glad I have all these videos.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've already had to upgrade the storage and all of that because there's so many already.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
all good stuff.
Yeah.
So something I really wanted to ask you. Did you ever get to drive the PT Cruiser with the surfboard on top?
No. That was before me, but no. I got to drive the actual wrapped car one time, but I don't get it very much.
I used to love that car.
I remember that.
Do you?
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
PT Cruiser. And the reason I thought it was funny is because I took a picture of it once because my mom and dad had a PT Cruiser in California, and it was a Woody of all things. What?
I know what that is.
Okay. So I sent it to my dad. Okay. And drove my mother crazy for years wanting to put a surfboard on the top of their car. My mother still hasn't forgiven me for that.
I'm
That's
sure there's
great.
more things that she hasn't forgiven you for. But
Oh yeah, we don't have time for all that.
that's a whole different show.
Yeah, that's yeah. We can. Yeah, that's a path we don't want to go down right now. So, I have a side business, a side hustle. I hate that term, but it's called the Protin Group, and I've had it for several years now. And I do things with it. I don't. I let it sit for a year and don't even touch it. And somebody a business will ask for help and something I do, and so I'll take on a client, and you literally make $80,000 one year and then nothing for 2 years, and then so it's something like that. What kind of advice? What's out there to help me? Right? Just say, I want to get back in. I want to start up again. I've let it sit for a year, okay, and I haven't had a consistent income. Although there's been income like maybe for 5 years, but up and down, right? So I went and did something else. So I want to bring it back. Okay, so I need a little bit of cash, maybe to start up, to cover some startup expenses to get it going. Or is there? Walk me through that process at your bank.
So something that would be really important to do is set up a line of credit or a credit card
Mm-hmm.
around the time that you have some income, because you want to set up those things when you don't need them. If you
Okay.
wait until you need capital, it's a little harder to get.
Yeah.
So set it up long before you need it. Even if you don't touch those lines of credit, the credit cards, they're there, they're ready to go, they're plan B. And even kind of going back to the days of waiting for PPP money to fund things like that, the businesses that slept a lot easier were the ones that had the lines of credit and
Yeah.
those things in place. So, again, I keep going back to having that conversation with your banker, with your accountant, just knowing what your business needs. Not every business needs to have a $100,000 line of credit. I think sometimes people get scared about having credit out there. $5,000 is usually enough to sustain what you
Oh,
need
yeah.
for a
Makes a
very
big
short
difference.
term, because
Makes a
they're
big difference.
very short term borrowings. So understanding the difference between your short term and your long term needs is also very important. Thinking about financing, you're not ever going to finance a vehicle or piece of equipment on a line of credit. Don't do it. People make the mistake sometimes of thinking I can just write this check. If you do it, okay, fine. Let's have that conversation and term it out and put it into the product that you need it to be,
Sure.
because those lines of credit need to be just available when you need them. They're very short-term borrowings. So just kind of keeping that in mind, that the line of credit is for short-term use.
Okay. So what kind of products do you offer a small business, say something like this? Also, I think every small business, entrepreneurial based, is different. But what kind of products does Brentwood Bank offer that the community may not just be aware of walking around the street?
Yes, we do everything from your checking account to the merchant service processing, so your credit card machines, your readers, whatever you're using for your type of business. We also offer credit cards that the employees can use. So the business owner can have a card for themselves, for their employees.
Okay.
What's really nice is they can customize. So if let's say you have someone that drives a delivery van and they only ever need to buy gas for that van, we can actually make it to where that card is only good at the gas station.
Okay.
They can't
That's
walk in here and
interesting.
accidentally grab the wrong card to buy something. It happens, not just
Sure.
because employees are trying to pull a fast one, but hey,
Sure.
they're both the same color and it's Saturday and you're not paying attention, you grab the wrong
Mhm.
card. So putting those measures in place that protect the business and their employees, those are, really important, especially for a small business. And what's nice is, we work the credit card strategy into our conversation. So we're not going to say like, hey, here's a credit card. Good luck with the management of it. Because a small business, sometimes it's easy to just, let's put a lot of stuff on this credit card right now.
Oh, sure.
Let's have this conversation about, well, what are you buying? What are you looking to do? Just making sure that we don't need to recommend other options that might be more suitable for what they're trying to accomplish.
hmm And I think that's very applicable because most small business owners are not accountants, are not necessarily financially astute, right? Because they're focused on what they're doing. I mean, this is a boutique. There's clothing, there's shoes, there's different things. The last thing you need to worry about here, and just curating all of this and selling, is the business side of things, the accounting, the budgeting, and all those things. That's usually the least desirable thing that an entrepreneur has to do, right? Although it may be considered the most important, right? But what level of involvement can the bank get with me? Now keep in mind, I'm the guy who doesn't even know what his salary is because I just leave everything to my wife. So first of all, I know what you're going to say. You have no business opening a business, just so don't even do it. But unless she's going to be my partner, right? But how deep can you get into helping me with the financial side of my business?
We actually work with startups all the time. So, or those that are growing or those that are going through a transition. Any size business is someone that we can work with. Especially as a community bank, we have a lot more flexibility as to the products we can offer, the service we can provide. I can spend time with my clients. If you say, hey, I have a daytime job and I need to meet at 6:00, then guess what? We're going to do that. Just to really be there for what the business needs. There are options for any size business, no matter what phase they're in, whether they're starting out, growing, they outgrow a space like this and they want to buy a building, there's an option for that. So we're there with you no matter what stage that you're in. We also offer financial planning services. So if someone's looking to exit the business, then there's options for that too. There are retirement plans that we can look into. So all types of services that the business would need and maybe not think about. So we try to position ourselves as part of the team of professionals. Most people think of their attorney, their CPA.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be included in that. We sit in on appointments with maybe the CPA and the advisor and the attorney just to be part of that conversation, just so that we're all on the same page. We know where the business wants to go because it is the same conversation that we're all going to have.
Right.
So when we know those other professionals and we're included in those conversations, it just makes everything flow so much easier and, just makes it a lot easier for the business owner.
Is there typically wine there when you're having those talks?
Usually, yeah. I mean, I would say it's the attorneys, but it's the bankers. So, right.
Well, and it's very applicable because, we're at a point now, we started this podcast as a hobby. We like doing it. We had fun. And it really started to get a following and it started to get some momentum. And that's when Kelly and I, this all happened organically. It wasn't something that we sat down and said, hey, we ought to do this. It was just like, you know what? We really ought to do this. So, and it just clicked and it made so much sense. So now it's becoming a business. So we're talking now about making it an actual business, right? Creating an LLC, doing all those things that you just described. So do you have any podcasts in your business portfolio at the bank?
We don't yet, but we'd love to.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So, wine. And then we'll come see you.
I'll bring snacks.
See? Well, now
Yep.
you say no to that.
So no, and legitimately, that's something that I think, you don't realize it. I mean, we never really, Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, but we never really seriously considered monetizing this, right? But now that we see how it's grown and continues to grow, it's like, and it's taking so much time, and we've got out-of-pocket expense that we need to recoup and things like that. So being able to whether it's through sponsorships or advertising, whatever the case may be, you can't just be, just us hanging out, doing this for fun. It can't be a hobby anymore. It's got to be a legitimate business, and you really have to do it the right way, because there's a lot at stake. There's a lot at stake. We all have day jobs. We do these things, but that's a conversation we really should have.
And we see that so much, people, this was my hobby. This was what I like to do. And it's their passion, and it continues to grow and really takes off. So I have many clients that have been in that spot, and they've just had great businesses that have really taken off, and it's just really exciting to be part of their growth.
I think COVID did that too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And we all look at it from different perspectives. They want to grow and make money. I want to retire. So I just want to show up and talk to people and not do anything else.
Okay, so a question that I have for you is, what's the biggest mistake that you see businesses making?
I would say it's ignoring the things that are important. And then when I say that, I mean thinking like this will sort itself out. Like, maybe that's a fraudulent transaction, or that won't happen to me. I think people think that fraud doesn't happen in small towns like this sometimes. It does. It happens every day. And the amounts per transaction are going up and up and up. The average fraud loss now for a business is over $18,000 per transaction. So it's high.
Wow.
There are issues with, checks being washed and turned into other checks, and just things like that you really need to be paying attention to. And I think sometimes people get too busy in their business, which is a good thing, but that's why you need to have the protections in place that allow you to spend your time where it's important, growing the business. Let your bank take care of the rest of watching the account and keeping it safe and secure for you.
That's important.
Yeah.
I mean, that's critically important because you don't have big margins, right? There's not the make or break that number is not real high for most small businesses like this. You look at the businesses other than, the chains, Planet Fitness, but the small businesses just in this plaza, they're all at risk, right? Because they don't have that break number is not real high.
Yes, definitely.
That's crazy. There's a lot of risks involved. I grew up, my mother was an entrepreneur before that word was invented, right? In the 60s, she had a little clothing store down in Charleroy. And so it was like, I don't remember her ever talking about that side of it. Like she would come home and she would talk about, because it was a boutique like this, and there were partners, but she would talk about, the new style. It was I remember A Smile jeans. Okay, back in the day, this was I'm really dating myself now because they were bell bottoms and the hip hugger things, And I remember that was a huge deal, right? That was a huge deal, and it, just different type of styles that would come in, and she wanted to get this style and this type of thing. But I don't ever remember her and my father or anybody talking about the business side of it, the money side of it. But she succeeded for a while. She did well,
And that's so common now. I mean, the mechanic, he's great at fixing cars.
Yeah.
They're busy. Like there's a constant need for that. Then we'll take care of the financial piece with you. We'll be your partner that, you call, you text, you email, you say, hey, I need this to be looked at, and we'll come in and take care of that piece for you. So whatever we can take off the business owner's plate, that's what our goal is, to have that just relationship with them that we know. Sometimes there's been fraudulent items I'm looking at, I'm like, they didn't do that. But we know each other so well that I'm like, he didn't do that. Let me call him and ask what's going on here. So
and that's a great thing about a community bank, because you know your customers. And see, I love that. I love that level of service. I will always go local as much as I possibly can because, PNC Bank's a great bank, right? But it's like, I have a good friend who lives in Dallas, Texas, and we were talking one day, and he said about his bank, and but going to PNC Bank, and I said, "You go to PNC?" Yes. He said, "Yes, my bank. It's like the biggest bank in Texas." I said, "It's my bank." So they don't know me. You know what I mean? My local branch might, but I don't. Other than the manager, I don't know them. They can't possibly know me, and I only know him from basketball from back in the day, right? So it's not a bad bank. I mean, it's but at the end of the day, when you look at Brentwood Bank or Community Bank or or even some of the small savings places, but I'd love that local touch. And it's like I will always drive by a Starbucks to go to a local coffee shop, you know.
Same here.
So I think that's a really great niche. And again, seeing you guys out in the community, like you said, your son's starting to do soccer and different things like that, little activities, being out there with that and letting people see you and your family. Not hiding your family from the public, from who we are, from your friends and your customers.
Yeah.
Yep. Amen. She's going to be part of the team. She's the new eagle eye for us.
Oh, guaranteed. Guaranteed. And, we have about, we probably have about $11 to deposit right now to start up. So
It's all pennies, right?
they're gonna be so happy you brought us in. They'll just go, Jen, thank you. What were you thinking? But no, that's really cool because those are some action items like that every small business can take a look at, and it doesn't cost you to go. There's no cost to just go and talk to you, right? And say, here's to get this kind of menu of services and see. There's no billing for that, right? So I think it makes sense for every small business to just go ahead and just talk to your local, but talk to your banker,
Yes.
wherever you're banking. But we will definitely be talking moving forward because, like I said, I want to stay local as much as possible. And I really want to know what happened with the surfboard because that was really cool.
I'll have to find that out for you.
If you can, that would seal the deal for you because there's a lot of banks competing for us right now. As you can imagine.
Oh, yeah.
That's the closer for him.
Yeah.
I'll find out where it is.
You find out where the surfboard is, and that'll close the deal.
Mm.
So we've covered a lot, and what is a parting thought? What would you like the people who are watching this show? There are 6 or 7 of them. What do you want their takeaway to be? Whether it's about bank, whether it's about Jen, it doesn't matter. What do you want their takeaway to be for this conversation?
I think the most important thing is I would tell people is to have a conversation with your banker, get to know them really well, and just in case you ever need anything, you know who you're talking to. It makes a huge difference. And I think building the relationships, making that connection, just like we talked before, you just never know who's going to be a great connection for you. And they could be a friend, they could be a business partner. It doesn't matter what it is, but relationships are everything, and that's what's the most
all business is
important thing
personal.
to me. Yes.
All business is personal. I think that's one of the most important lessons I learned years ago about business. When somebody says, "Oh, it's not personal, it's just business," that's BS.
I
Yes.
hate that phrase.
All
too.
business is personal. It's about relationships.
That is.
Agreed.
Very cool.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being here. We
Yes, thank you
appreciate
for
it.
having me.
Yeah,
This
we
is
do
great.
appreciate it. Thank you
Just the
very much.
beginning.
And everybody, check out Brentwood Bank. If you have any small business owners in particular, talk to your banker. There's some very good advice that you shared. And I thank you very much for coming on and talking with us because there are things that, again, that are applicable to us right now. You gave us some action items that we can follow up with now moving forward. So
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to go shopping now.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's go do that.
I actually already did.
you guys can go do that. I'm going to sit here and hang out with Nick so I don't get myself in trouble. Thank you, Jen. It's
Thank
always
you.
wonderful to see you, sweetheart.
You too.